Hello everyone, this is Satish Kumar. I am here with another lesson. This is my continuation lesson on inflation. So in the previous lesson we learnt about inflation and the basic concept and the types of inflation. So in previous lesson we learnt about the definition, what is inflation, and we also learn about the 4 types of inflation. So in this lesson we will learn about what are the causes of inflation. Okay, see, there is not a single cause for inflation. Generally, a rise in price, loss, too much money in the economy, and the loss in value of money is considered as inflation. But there is not a single factor which caused the inflation. Okay, there are multiple factors. That is what we are going to see in this lesson. So, what are the factors? Okay, we may broadly divide into certain areas. First, we will broadly, it is called as demand-pull inflation. Okay, that is, there is a mismatch between demand and supply in the economy. This may cause the price to go up. Okay, why? See, in an economy, when there is huge demand for products, but the supply is less. Okay, the supply, people are demanding product, but the supply of that product is less in an economy. No, there is a mismatch. Okay, see, when the people are demanding goods, there should be supply available to that demand. Only then it is a match. If there is a mismatch, the demand goes high, but the supply is not there. Automatically, since the supply is very less, no, the prices of the goods will go up. Okay, when these kind of things will happen, the demand pull inflation will happen is when there is a wage increase in the economy. So when there is a wage increase, what will happen is people will have more money. Okay, since people will have more money, they will try to spend those money, and this result in more demand, and as a result there will be inflation. Okay, similarly, there will also be more money supply in the economy. Okay, generally inflation is said to be caused by increase in money supply in the economy. Okay, one of the major reasons. So in fact, the demand itself increases because of the availability of excess money in the hands of people. Okay, so inflation is primarily caused by an increase in the money supply. In fact, the basic definition itself will come like this: too much of money chasing too little goods or same amount of goods. Okay, when people have a lot of money, they will demand goods, they will try to buy goods, and this may lead for the price to go up. Okay, see, why this money supply is increasing. See, previously countries had gold standard. Okay, gold standard means the country could print money based on the gold they possess. Okay, now it is not gold standard. The country could print money as it wishes. Okay, this results in excess increase in money supply. When you have gold equivalent of money supply, the inflation will not be there. But when there is, you are printing money without any security like gold standard, no, there will be more supply of money. This is whenever RBI prints excess money, no, it means there will be inflation. See, you all know that at current India is going through some problem. Okay, India needs money. The center has to give states money. The states are saying that you have to give this much of money, and because of that there is a GST compensation deadline. So center has the RBI. Okay, the center could say that to the RBI, print money and give the state. Why it is not doing so? Okay, in fact, one of the method to solve whenever the government is lacking funds, no, it will resort to printing money. But why the government is not willing to do is, we have to understand, because when the government prints money and put in the to pay the debts or to put in the market. No, what it means is it will automatically increase the money supply in the economy, and this will lead to price rise. Okay, so to avoid inflation only, the government is not going for printing money. Okay, the RBI is not going to print money. Okay, so the money supply, whenever it is increases, it will increase the price. Okay, there is also other way demand pull inflation work, that is when a government is reduce the direct or indirect tax. When a government is taxing people, no, if it reduce the direct or indirect tax, no, this means there will be more amount income for the people, okay, or the companies, so they will spend more. As a result, the demand will increase. That is also inflation, one of the reason. Then there is a reduction in interest rate. See, the RBI, in fact RBI uses the reduction or increase in interest rate to control the money supply in economy. Whenever RBI increases reduces the interest rate, no, that is the lending rate of bank, what it means is that people will buy more credit in banks, and this will result in people having more money in their hand, so it will increase automatically the money supply in the economy. So again, reduction in interest rate will also lead to demand pull inflation. Similarly, when the central government, if it is buying government securities in the market, that means the market will have more in the market. That is also again there will be increase in money supply in the economy. As a result, it will also lead to demand pull inflation. Please try to understand all these concepts. These are things will be very useful to answer some concept related questions in prelims, and it will also help you to understand a lot of things, to study lot of articles in newspapers, to understand lot of programs of government, RBI, why RBI is doing certain things, why government is doing certain things. All these things will be helpful if you understand all these concepts. Okay, so the second major concept reason for inflation is causes of for inflation is cost push inflation. Okay, see, industries produce some products. Okay, in the products, factors of production, that is wage, raw material, rent, and others are involved, no, for producing that product. If these factors or these cost of the production, if it increases, it will also increase the price of the product. As a result, inflation will happen. Okay, cost push inflation is nothing but an additional cost incurred in the making of a product. Okay, the factor of production will increase, the cost of factor of production will increase, that wage may increase. Okay, in fact, when the wage increase, it also indirectly means that the spending power of the people will also increase, that will also increase the demand. So this is what known as cost push inflation, and this may result in rising wages, rise in raw material. The raw material are used, which are used to produce a product, no, suddenly if the raw material price rise, what will happen is it will automatically the product cost will increase. Okay, there is also other causes like profit push inflation. That is, a company may be willing to earn more. As a result, they may raise the price of a product. Okay, and this may result in inflation. Okay, similarly, any companies may stop producing products. They may stop producing the product. As a result, the supply will become less. Okay, as a result, the demand, if the demand remains at a high level and the supply is going down, no, it will also increase the value of the price. Okay, that is what I mean by declining productivity. See, in fact, if you have watched it in the international market, whenever the oil producing countries stop producing oil. In fact, daily Russia or the Middle East countries, no, these countries daily produce certain amount of oil. Uh, Only if they produce those certain amount of oil daily, the international prices of the oil will be at a particular rate. If they suddenly stopped producing, no, what will happen is the price of those product will go high, because there will be more less supply, and as a result there will be more demand for the product, which will push the prices up. Okay, this has happened in previously. um, Please remember. Then if the government raises the tax, this may lead to higher prices. Whenever the government raise the tax, that is, if a government is raising indirect tax or anything, no, what will happen is the corporate charge more amount of, as a result normally the price of the product will go high. This will result in um, higher inflation. See, you have to understand here that when I said about reduction in interest rate, okay, or reduction in taxation, direct or indirect action, that will also lead to inflation, I said. Here I am saying higher taxes will also lead to inflation, but the slight difference here is this will increase in the cost, push inflation. In the reduction of tax, it will increase in the demand pool. Anyway, it is going to cause inflation. Okay, please remember this point. So don't think that reduction of taxes raises inflation, and higher taxes may reduce the inflation. Not like that. The only the things will change. Please try to understand all these concepts clearly. Also, exchange rates. See, when the exchange rate in the international market between different countries, if the rupee, Indian rupee, no, if it is lose value with other foreign country, no, this may make the goods more expensive in the Indian market. Okay, and also the foreign products will become, see, for example, India, if it is producing a product, no, it is not going to, in fact, recently during the India-China problem came, no, we realized that India is buying a lot of raw materials for producing a lot of products from China. Okay, so if the raw material that is, if India and China rupee value and the Chinese value, money value, if comparatively India value goes down, no, what will happen is the raw material that is coming from China will become higher. As a result, automatically the product value of the production value of the goods that is produced in India will become higher, because the raw material costs more. Okay, that is how the exchange rate will impact the price rise. Okay, so it will also make the imported goods more expensive to consumers in India. Okay, please remember this point. Similarly, when India is facing national debt, see, whenever a country is having national debt, no, it has two major options in it to pay the debt. Okay, India is said to have a lot of debt. Okay, they can either taxes from people, that is how the government have money in its hand. Okay, the second option that they could go is print more money to pay off the debt. Okay, see, they could raise more taxes from the people, or they could print more money to pay off the debt. Okay, see, have you noticed that this present central government, that is the present central government, Modi led government, no, ever since it came to power, the international oil prices were low. Okay, but people, we never had the chance of in fact, for us the petrol prices never came down. It was high, as high as when the UPA government was there. Do you know why? Because the government raised taxes on petroleum products. As a result, for us, so What it meant is the government, by charging more taxes, both the state and the central government raised a lot of resources. So that benefit didn't come to us. So the logic behind this is the government wanted to pay its, India government has a lot of debt, and India also government spends a lot of money, so it wanted resources, so it decided to not to pass the international fall of prices to the people. Okay, why it did like that? No, it is because it wanted to keep the inflation at a lower level. Okay, so that is what I mean. Whenever a government has a national debt, no, it has two choices. It could either print money, which will result in money supply in the economy, and finally it will lead to inflation, and it could either raise taxes. Again, this will also will increase taxes, but when compared to printing more money, the effect in the raising taxes will be lesser. And also the in the case of petroleum products, no, they are not raising the taxes. What they did is they did not reduce the taxes that happen in the international market to reach the people. So it was a very clever plot by this government, but I don't think it is the right way for economy. In fact, I personally felt if the government has uh, given the lower prices benefit to the people, no, it would have other effects, other positive effects on economy, because this may lead to people have lot of money in the hand, and this may lead to people spending more on buying goods. And also because the petroleum products, because the government charged so much of taxes, no, the petroleum products price was so high, this may result in because of this other prices of other products that may involve because of the petroleum cost went high, so it spiraled in. Okay, in fact, one of the reasons that we are paying low down is I will attribute for these kind of mismanaged policies by this government. Okay, the government should have given the benefit to the people. The government should never think that it should have the money. Okay, okay, that is the way this government operated. It took this logic, as I said earlier, no, it wanted to keep the inflation at a manageable level. Okay, so there can be other reasons like lack of competition in the market between firms. Okay, if there is one company which is in a monopoly in a particular sector, no, what that one company will do, it will charge the prices of its products high, that will result in inflation. Okay, if there is a too much of competition, no, the product price will become lesser. Okay, have you ever noticed that in recent times, because of the revolution in telecommunication and Geo coming up with free plans, and all this led to now we are enjoying net at a very less cost because of lack of competition. So the amount we spend for net services is very less, and we are get more facilities. Okay, this was not possible even for 2-3 years back, from 5-6 years back. Okay, so when there is lack of competition, the price will rise. When there is huge competition, the price will become lesser. Similarly, hoarding, that is, if somebody hoards certain products, keep a huge stock, hoard it, illegally hoarding. Okay, and this may create artificial shortage in the market for that product, and that product price may go up, and this will lead to inflation. Okay, and there is also, whenever in an economy, failure in production of goods like agriculture goods because of monsoon, this may also result in inflation. So these are all the reasons for causes of inflation. Okay, uh, with this I end this lesson. We will see in the third part of this lesson, where we will discuss about the effects of inflation, that is the advantages and disadvantages of inflation. That we will see in my next lesson. Okay, keep watching. Bye.